In the year 860 AD, a small but formidable Viking fleet sailed north from the coast of Vestfold, a region in what is now modern Norway. At the helm was the ambitious chieftain, Harald Fairhair. Their mission was clear: to raid the rich trading settlements scattered along the British Isles. The journey promised wealth and glory, a chance to carve their names into the sagas. But the icy waters of the North Atlantic are notoriously unforgiving, a realm of sudden storms and treacherous currents. And on this particular voyage, fate had another, far more dangerous test in store for Harald and his men. The sea itself was becoming a battlefield, long before they even sighted their intended shores. The air grew colder, the winds sharpened, and the waves began to swell, clawing at the wooden hulls of their longships. This was no ordinary journey. It was a struggle for survival from the moment they left the familiar fjords behind. As they navigated the turbulent Norwegian Sea, somewhere near the remote Shetland Islands, a lookout's cry shattered the rhythmic creak of oars and the howl of the wind. On the horizon, a fleet appeared. It wasn't a friendly sight. A rival Viking warband, rumored to be led by the distant kin of the legendary Bjorn Ironside, had spotted them. Their numbers were overwhelming twice as many longships, bristling with warriors hungry for a fight. The larger fleet closed in relentlessly, their coordinated strokes driving them forward like a pack of wolves. On Harald's ships, the mood shifted from determined ambition to grim reality. The oars strained against the heaving waves as they tried to outrun the inevitable. Hearts pounded in chests like war drums. The looming threat of annihilation was no longer a distant fear. It was a dark, menacing shadow, growing larger with every passing moment. Aboard Harald Fairhair's longships, the warriors tightened their grips on their shields and axes, the cold leather and wood a small comfort against the chilling dread. These were hardened men, but the sight of the approaching enemy, combined with the fury of the northern sea, would test even the strongest resolve. Fathers and sons, seasoned raiders with scars from 100 battles, and young novices on their first voyage, all shared the same grim expression. They faced the very real possibility of total defeat, of their ships being splintered and their bodies sinking into the frigid, dark abyss. Each massive wave that crashed over the bow threatened to swamp their fragile vessels. Each sail, already strained under the force of the icy winds, seemed ready to tear. The air was thick with the taste of salt and fear, a silent prayer on every man's lips as they prepared for a battle they could not win. But then, just as despair began to set in, something impossible happened. It was as if the gods themselves had intervened, hearing their silent pleas. Out of the thick, swirling mist, a colossal shape emerged. It wasn't another ship or a rocky coastline. It was an iceberg, a towering mountain of ancient ice, drifting silently and inexorably toward the enemy fleet. Its sheer size was breathtaking, a monument of nature's raw power. The towering frozen walls, gleaming with an eerie blue light, drifted directly into the path of the attackers. The rival warband, caught completely by surprise, was forced to slow their pursuit. Their momentum was broken. The captains hesitated, their aggressive charge grinding to a halt as they were forced to rethink their entire strategy in the face of this unexpected, colossal obstacle. The appearance of the iceberg threw the larger fleet into a state of utter confusion. The rival captains, accustomed to the predictable chaos of battle, now faced an unpredictable and alien environment. They barked orders, their voices swallowed by the wind and the groaning of the ice, but the channels forming around the iceberg were treacherous and narrow. The thick mist, combined with the towering walls of ice, distorted their view, creating ghostly illusions and hiding deadly submerged hazards. On the decks of the enemy ships, confident shouts turned to nervous whispers. What they saw seemed larger than life, a monstrous, unstoppable force sent from another world. Panic began to ripple through their ranks. This wasn't a battle of men against men anymore. It was a struggle against an element they couldn't fight, couldn't intimidate, and couldn't understand. Their superior numbers meant nothing in this frozen labyrinth. While the enemy was mired in chaos, Harold Fairhair's fleet, smaller but far more nimble, seized the moment. They saw not a trap, but an escape route, with Harold's sharp commands guiding them. They maneuvered their longships between the smaller icebergs and through the narrow, twisting channels. It was a perilous dance, a high-stakes gamble where one wrong move could mean disaster. They had to carefully avoid the jagged hidden edges of the frozen hazards that could tear their hulls apart. Every single R-stroke counted. Every turn might have been their last. The sailors rowed with a desperate, synchronized energy, their fear now channeled into focus. In that critical moment, luck, skill, and perfect timing aligned. They navigated the icy maze with a precision born of desperation, slipping through the grasp of their pursuers like ghosts in the mist. The larger fleet, blocked by the main iceberg and demoralized by the treacherous conditions, finally gave up the chase. The distant kin of Bjorn Ironside, for all their strength and numbers, could not force a passage through the frozen maze that had so suddenly materialized. They were outmaneuvered, not by a clever tactic, but by the sheer, indifferent power of nature. Frustrated and defeated, they turned their ships around and retreated back into the open waters, their prize having vanished into the fog and ice as the enemy fleet disappeared into the distance. Harold Fairhair and his men found themselves alone, surrounded by the silent, majestic ice. They were alive. Against all odds, they had survived, and their journey to the British Isles could continue. The immediate threat was gone, replaced by a profound sense of awe and relief. This miraculous escape was not forgotten. It quickly became the stuff of legend, a story told and retold in halls and around campfires. It was the tale of a fleet saved not by the strength of their swords or the resilience of their shields, but by an icy giant of nature that appeared as if by divine will. Historians and archaeologists are totally blown away by this wild event. It stands as a stunning example of how history is shaped by more than just human ambition and conflict. It was a perfect storm of circumstances, the skill of Harold's sailors, the timing of their flight, and the intervention of a force that no one could have predicted or controlled. A massive, drifting iceberg. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the greatest forces at play are the ones we can't even see coming. Thank you for watching this incredible story of survival against the odds. It's a powerful reminder that in history, while courage and cleverness are vital, sometimes survival hinges on the quiet, unseen forces of nature that shape our world in mysterious ways. These forgotten tales show us how much of our past was determined by chance, weather, and the wild, untamable power of our planet. If you enjoyed this journey back in time, consider subscribing to our channel for more astonishing and forgotten tales from history. We have so many more stories to share with you. Thanks again for joining us.